I think the last time 12 to 20, you're absolutely right. It was 16, but they were playing group matches before. And because the top teams were not playing, nobody ever considered that the start of the tournament.
Yeah.
So they have tried to expand it. But I'll tell you, the big thing about them is trying to penetrate the US market.
Right.
Okay. If you get it right, where did in America, okay, in 94, once they played a World Cup is when, really football started building out there. Similarly, they think that, okay, cricket's done everywhere. It's, the numbers in Asia are so big that they don't need to bother. The last frontier is America. And so everything they've done carefully, put this World Cup, there's an Olympic to follow. They really want to make cricket big out here. And therefore, for them, they want to make it as big a tournament as possible and play a substantial number of games in the US.
Yeah.
Because with US and West Indies both hosting, they want at least a substantial. So for them, it was important to get more teams in, more participation in, showing that T20 is a global sport, much more global than, say, ODI cricket, and then to have some games in the US. That's why they did it.
Okay, fair point. Absolutely fair. But then the idea and execution, for me, where it seems like a slip is, DK, that you're playing the game still for an Indian audience in mind. So you're playing them at 8 p.m., which means you're playing them at about 10 in the morning. You're playing 10 to 2 or whatever. That's not really a time that an audience can get excited about sport on a weekday.
I do think that 10 a.m. start is very weird for a T20 game. Though whenever it's happened, you got to understand two things. There are quite a few days where 4 matches happen on the same day at different points. So you also have evening games.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this sport is primarily followed in India and other parts of Asia where the timing is accommodated accordingly. And that's where MLC as a tournament is actually not bothered to worry about the other audiences. They want to penetrate the market into America and say, we start at the time that we feel is best to get the crowds in.
Yeah.
Win the World Cup, because there are so many games and the fact that they have very little time, they've in many ways just consolidated the tournament and kept it as short and sweet as possible. Ideally, they want to finish it in 3 weeks, which is what they're trying. It's still about a month long. Generally, it's a 3-week tournament, but this is a month long. So they've tried their best. But when you want to accommodate various teams across time zones, and in America, there are various time zones in different parts. They're playing Dallas, they're playing New York, and then you get to the Caribbean for the Super 8 stage. I understand what ICC has done. Is it ideal? Probably not. But if you want to get the viewership in, which is what the broadcasters want, then an 8 p.m. India start suits that.
Quick question as a player. I just want a follow-up question. The difference, because you've played, the COVID years where there was nobody there. The difference that a player feels when you've got like 30,000 people as opposed to kind of an empty stadium.
Very disarming for a start when you don't play with crowds. It took us some time when we played that IPL without any crowds. Very weird.
Yeah.
When you hit a shot, you feel like you're playing a domestic game. It very much feels like that. There's nobody around to clap, no sounds. At times you only hear some claps from the dressing room. It is very weird. And it is very hard for people who have played international cricket consistently. I really feel one of Virat Kohli's reasons for him not to have done as well as he generally does during that COVID phase is the fact that there was no crowd around. He's someone who completely gets enamored and pushed by crowds. And then the likes of Rohit, Hardik Pandya, you can keep naming big names from India and other parts of the country as well. But for Virat Kohli, I can say that he would have definitely played a massive part. Just playing to nobody, it would feel weird. It's one thing playing to a TV audience, which is great, but you don't hear them clapping for you.
Correct.
So, it's a very, as I said, a very different feeling to be playing in front of no one.